All right, Shalom. First and foremost, call Allah, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Wahak, Wadash Rakah. Double honors to the elders over a great millstone who rule well. All right. Allah Yawabarakim to the hopeful elect of Yasha'Allah. Yasha'Allah being Hebrew for Israel, the hopeful elect being the men of Israel, of Yasha'Allah, teaching His truth in the four corners of the earth, where we have been spread. All right. Also, Shalom to those of the Israelite nation who have turned their back to this world, who have forsaken this world and come into the truth, and who are enduring and living steadfast in this thing to the very end until we get up out of here. All right. Before I get going, I'd like to say this message specifically to you so-called Negroes, you so-called blacks, so-called Latinos and Native American Indians. You are all, in fact, the direct descendants of the Israelites of the Bible. All right? You're the people of the book. So we're going to get going on the lesson. This lesson is going to be going over conduct. Conduct being a very important tool of understanding that's needed, for us to build our congregation and, carry out the ministry, carry out this ministry, so we can see the deliverance, see that salvation, that's written for us, within these scriptures. All right. And as you can see here, I got an image of a stone wall pulled up. And, as, brothers being in the truth, people, learning these scriptures of the Israelite nation, you learn as you're reading that us Israelites were likened unto stones. All right. With us being likened unto stones, I thought this would be a good visual, to help, get the message through. And like I say, if you look at the details of the stones, you realize we got big stones, we got small stones, we got stones at the top, we got stones at the bottom. We got all these different stones, and that's the most important factor to realize within looking at these stones is that ultimately every stone is different, and they all ultimately have a different purpose. And all these stones that you see, they must adhere and stay in line and stay in their correct lot, so they can be, so this wall could be carried out to be looked at or become a strong, sturdy wall, because you build a wall to stand, not to fall. And if one of these rocks or stones are out of its place, the integrity of this wall could be compromised. This whole wall could just collapse if one of these little stones were out of place. So the conduct of these rocks is what allows this stone wall to stand up sturdily. So conduct is very important in carrying out, this ministry. So we'll get to it. Right.
Conduct.
So you have conduct. It says the manner in which a person behaves. So conduct goes into your behavior, especially on a particular occasion. And there's many occasions where you can apply your behaviors, whether you'll be on your own, doing your own thing, you're out and about in the world, doing what you need to do to maintain. But the specific reason that I put this lesson together was the occasion of being amongst brothers, of being amongst your camp, your group, your immediate brothers that you're with. So conduct is the manner in which a person behaves, especially on a particular occasion or in a particular context. And the particular context that I'm speaking of is within this truth. All right? So we can go to the next definition. It says the action, right, your behavior or manner, all right, of managing. Managing is being in a certain place within a certain time. things being in right place or being put within their right place, or lot, if you will. The action or manner of managing an activity, right? That's the work or organization. So this organization, if you go into organization is going into a bunch of parts or pieces or people that are put together to um, act out one overall cause. It's a bunch of people or parts or pieces put together for one cause. That'll be an organization, aka a business. So an organization goes into a business, and this truth is in fact, scripturally likened it to a business, or it definitely is a business. Better said. We go get that. We'll go to Luke chapter 2, in verse 49. Yeah, that's it. Just to give context as to what's going on here. So, this is about Yahushai. Yahushai, when he was still a kid, him and his parents, they were going to the city for a festival, I believe, yearly. And Yahushai, at this point, a little bit of history, they used to travel in caravans, or, a bunch of people. So they're leaving the city where the festival was at, and they headed back home. They thought Yahushai was amongst, the caravan, the others that were traveling back to, where they was coming from. And when they got back home, they realized Yahushua wasn't there. So they thought he was missing. So they went back to the city to find Yahushua. And that's where the scripture is. So Luke chapter 2 and 49. And he said it to them, he being Yahushua, said it to them, his parents, how is it that ye sought me? So Yahushua was like, why are you guys looking for me? Right? So he said, wished ye not that I must be about my father's business. So Yahushua understood the conduct that was needed for him to be an Israelite, for him to, carry out the role of him being an Israelite, which would be him being about his father's business, which is very important because this isn't a personal business. It's the father's business, right? And the father's business comes with specific guidelines, if you will. Just like a business in the world. Say you worked for Foot Locker, it comes with you having to wear those stripes. If you work at Foot Locker, the code of conduct would be, you wearing those stripes. You have a certain start date. You have a certain time that you work. You have breaks, and you would have to adhere to that conduct, right? You're gonna have to greet customers. Gonna have to deal with people, but your conduct, when you start any job, FedEx, you got to wear the uniform. All these things are part of the conduct of that workplace or that job. So just like in the world, in this truth, we're about the Father's business. And the Father's business is laid out within the law, statutes, and commandments of the Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. And it's written out, within these scriptures. So our conduct is written out very specifically in the scriptures, within the law, statutes, and commandments, down from what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat, times and days that we should rest, when should we celebrate, and, so on and so forth. It goes on. This book speaks to anything that you can deal with in life, right? And as Yahushua said, he understood that he should be in the conduct of an Israelite, which would be being about the Father's business and not your own personal business, and that's very, very interesting, or very key, because you don't have to think about what you need to do, because it's all written out and it's all stated very clearly. So you must be about the Father's business, which is very important to understand. The Father's business, he gave you a book of conduct to abide by so you could carry out his business, just like any business in the world. So this truth is very much a business. And it's a certain way that this business must be carried out.
Conduct.
So the action or manner of managing an activity or an organization. And we'll go back to, the stone wall real quick. Just to give another example. So here these stones, they're set up and they're managed in a certain way. These stones were picked specifically to create this wall. It was a pile or wherever you got these rocks from. These specific rocks were chosen to be put in specific lots, specific places, so they could carry out the building of this wall. So we'll go back to the definition. It says to organize and carry out. So, as I was just saying with the stone wall, all of those stones, they were organized very specifically and they were carried out, stacked, put in place, put in their lots to be the stone wall that you see. And each stone must stay in the context of what that stone is. That small stone can't fit where the big stone is at. There would be a breach there. It would be a breach in the wall. It would put the integrity of the structure in jeopardy. The wall could fall without that small rock being where it needs to be, and that vice versa. That big rock can't decide to be stuffed where that small rock. It just doesn't fit, and it's likened into the lots that we have within this truth. We have apostles, we have prophets, we have teachers, we have helps, we have healers, we have so on and so forth. And all of these positions, all these brothers that are in these specific positions must hold out their light. And just as these rocks are, we have small rocks and little rocks. Well, some teachers are small, some teachers are big, metaphorically speaking. We all must stay in order and adhere to our lot and what or how big or how small of a space we must carry out. Again, otherwise, we would collapse. So we have to filter our conduct, through these scriptures. The last definition here on conduct, it says to lead or guide someone to or around a particular place. So leading and guiding is very important to bring up because us edifying and building each other, we are going to be leading and guiding each other towards that ultimate goal that we all have, which is us being a business. But the ultimate goal is us seeing that salvation that's written for us within the scriptures, right? And that's the job of all of us within the ministry. If you go back and think about how we all got here, you think back into the elders. It was within the elders' conduct to lead us into the truth or to guide us into the truth. Because without them, most of us wouldn't have a chance of being here. You know what I'm saying? It'd be a smaller chance that all of us were led here if the elders wasn't there to lead or guide us into our particular place, And then going down the line in our immediate camps, we have elders in our camps, we have leads in our camps, and they're supposed to lead and guide us into our particular lots that we must fulfill so we can carry out this ministry. All right? And that leading and guiding and ultimately, where I'm trying to go with this is it all goes into conduct. So it's very many jobs of conduct. And with conduct, there comes tools of conduct, things like rebuke. Rebuke is an important tool inside this ministry. It's a part of the conduct of the ministry to rebuke. So, you know, going back to the stone wall, if this big stone was trying to fit where a small stone was at, you know, it would have to be rebuked. For one, it doesn't fit there, and it's causing error. It's causing division, you know, within these, because it just doesn't fit there. And without you being in place, it's going to fall. This stone wall has, you know, it's being compromised. You know, it's being put in a position where it could be breached or it could be knocked over. So these stones here, you know, liken it to us. In the truth, we got to stay in line as to what our lots are, because specific lots come with specific conduct. When you're in a specific lot, you got to do the specifics of the conduct of that lot. Like a prophet should be prophesying, you know, a teacher should be teaching, and a healer should be healing. And I'm not saying that those things don't sometimes cross, but you have to do, you know, what's been imbued for you to do, and not just pick what you want to do, because if you do so, you're going to be running into probably one of those tools of, like I said, something like rebuke. We'll go get the scripture on that really quick. Titus chapter 1 and 13. This is Titus chapter 1, verse 13. It says, this witness is true. The witness being the scriptures. It says, wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith. So if you're being rebuked a lot, ultimately it's just all part of the conduct of the ministry, because we're being commanded to rebuke those who are out of line ultimately. And we're supposed to do it sharply. And it's ultimately just to edify and to build you, that you be sound in the faith. And really quickly, we'll go into the word sound, you know, just to tie, you know, all of this together.
Strong's G 5198, Hugiaino.
So that sound in the Greek, and it says to be sound, to be well. See, well goes into good conduct. You want to be well, you want to be in place. That wall was built very well. You know, it's no breaches in it. To be good and to be in good health. To be in good health is to ultimately, overall, have everything working accordingly and on time and in a good manner. That wall is in good health because everything is in line. That small rock is in line to where it needs to be. It says a metaphor of Christians or Hamashiachim, whose opinions are free from any mixture of error, and their opinions are free from any mixture of error because they have good conduct. And ultimately is because they know the scriptures and they're abiding in their lots according to the scriptures. It says of one who keeps the graces and is strong. And again, you can go back to the stone wall. That wall is going to always be in grace. If that storm comes, it's going to be in grace. It's going to stand up graciously. It's going to protect, you know, those of the inside who are residing inside from the storm outside, you know, and it's strong. Those stones are very strong, and they're going to stay in place as long as everybody or every stone stays within its given lot, stays in its given place. Because if you take one of those stones and you put it inside a place that it doesn't belong, it's going to be ungracious and it's going to be less strong, and it's going to have that chance for it to be compromised. So the conduct of those stones, just like the conduct of us in this truth, we must stay in order and stay in line. You know, back to the point, this witness is true. So stand in order according to these scriptures, stand in conduct to the scriptures, wherefore rebuke them sharply. If you're not doing so, you're going to be rebuked sharply. And it's ultimately so you may be sound in the faith. You know, and these things are going to happen, but you're going to be rebuked because that's just part of the ministry. You see, that's part of good conduct of being in the ministry. But if you're being rebuked more than often, you should be paying attention to yourself. Because if you're being rebuked often, that's because ultimately you're not within the conduct, you're not living within the conduct or acting, or your behavior isn't within the conduct of these scriptures. Therefore, you're being rebuked that you may be sound. So you understand what's going on. You're being rebuked by someone who does understand what's going on. Because within our camps, within our brotherhoods, we have elders, we have leads of the camps, and so on and so forth, that are going to do this, you know. And again, back to the stone analogy, where all these different stones, if you're not being the stone that you need to be, you're probably out of place, and you're probably going to see those rebukes more often. You know, we have brothers that have been in for longer than brothers been alive. We have brothers been in 10 years, 5 years, 5 months, a week, a day. Everyone must stay in line to stay sound, to stand strong. All of these stones here must stay in line and stay within the context of what that stone is, so this stone wall doesn't fall over. I'll give you one more scripture. If you are seeing rebuke a lot, you know, it's not the worst thing, but you get some advice here in 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. It says, examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. See, if you're examining yourself and whether you be in the faith, to see if you're in the faith, you're going to be reproving yourself based upon what's said in these scriptures, what's said in these words. And you're going to prove your own selves. So before you end up getting rebuked, you're going to examine yourself and you're going to prove yourself to see if you're in the faith. And you're going to do that by using the conduct that's given within these scriptures to do so and to carry out what you need to do, carry out, you know, whatever lot that you are given or whatever lot you seem to fit. And if you haven't, if you're not at that point yet, you know, just stay in line until you do so, you know, because you might be added into this wall. You know, you might not be exactly a part of the wall just yet. You might be trying to find your space in the wall, you know, but stay in line according to these scriptures. Filter your actions through the scriptures, you know, for one, not to ultimately avoid the rebuke, but ultimately to avoid being a breach in this wall because you're out of place, thus causing this structure to fall or causing disruptions or, you know, divisions. You know, scriptures say offend less. You don't want to offend. You want to be in continuity with this structure so you can go on to be built up and be edified, so you can go on to see the salvation that's needed, because the scriptures go into the scriptures go into this place being destroyed, this world being destroyed. So ultimately, your conduct is going to play a key role in our deliverance from the destruction that's written to happen to this world. So conduct is a very important and key tool that's needed to carry out this ministry and to carry out what's needed to be done to carry out these scriptures. So learn conduct, mind yourself, examine yourselves, and you can always do so by sifting through the scriptures. So Lord willing, you know, this lesson was edifying. But with that said, I'm going to say shalom.